Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Quilts for Miles. So I thought in this video I'll give you a glimpse on what a day might look like in my sewing area. I try and get a few different projects done and little bits always will add up, and so I've just recorded bits and pieces of what I've done in my sewing room for the day. So I hope you enjoy watching this video, and I hope you'll consider giving it a like and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Now let's get on with the video. So I just received these two Elizabeth Hartmann patterns in the mail. This one is the Penguin Party, and I also have a koala one. So I'm collecting different Elizabeth Hartmann patterns at the moment because I want to do her patterns next year. I think they are a really nice design and I think they'll make really lovely quilts. So my goal is to get as many as I can and to start sewing them all up at some point next year. So here are some more of the memory blocks that I'm doing for the memory quilts. If you didn't watch my last video, these are quilts that I'm doing out of my mum's clothing that I have. We lost my mum to cancer back in 2018, and once she passed away I collected some clothing and I'm now making some quilts. So this is what I got accomplished in the morning before I got onto some other sewing. So these are ready to be sewn into a quilt now, and by laying them out like this you can get an idea of the direction I'm going and how I want the movement of them in the quilt. You can start seeing the movement of all the blocks with them laid out next to each other like this. These are hard quilts, but I'm enjoying the blocks and I think they are going to look very lovely when it's all finished. So my next quilt comes out of this book by Bonnie Hunter. It's a String Frenzy book and it was published a couple of years ago, and the quilt is called Daybreak. I'm doing it exactly how her layout is, except I'm replacing the aqua and I'm actually using plain black homespun in mine. The rest of the quilt will be very similar to this, and the quilt will be on eBay once it's completely finished as an unfinished project. eBay is for my unfinished projects. So here I'm sewing triangles on my 4 patches. So you would have seen that the 4 patches are surrounded by triangles. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm sewing the triangles on my 4 patches to create that part of the block. They are oversized and I do trim everything up. And I do like to do it oversized. I do like to trim. I find you get a more accurate block if you oversize and then trim everything down. So I'm just continuing to get a few of them sewn, the triangle sewn, and getting them into some blocks. This isn't a hard pattern, but it's got a lot of little pieces in it. Just like if you've done a Bonnie Hunter quilt before, you'll know she does sew with tiny pieces, and they can be hard and long to sew with. So I can't give you any measurements, that's why I had a piece of paper over the cutting instructions, because this does come from a book and I have purchased the book. So if you want to make this quilt, you're going to have to purchase Bonnie Hunter's String Frenzy book to get all the cutting instructions and the layout and the piecing instructions for this quilt. So here I'm just sewing some more 4 patches because you need quite a few 4 patches for this quilt because it is a decent size and you do need a lot of 4 patches. And I'm just sewing a few 4 patches, then I sew the triangles, then I make a block, then I come back and sew more 4 patches. And that way, if I do it that way, I'm not getting as bored, and I find things just keep rotating, and it's good for my mind just to do different things. But because you need a lot, here I'm just sewing quite a few 4 patches together, and then I'll turn these into blocks, and it will eventually be turned into the quilt when I've got enough pieces all sewn together. So as you can see, I am chain piecing my 4 patches, so I sew them in 2 patches first and chain pieced a fair few into 2 patches, and then I sew them into and make the actual 4 patch. I chain piece, it's the same process, and by chain piecing I will be saving a lot of thread, and it's just easier to chain piece. So I chain piece where I can, but I don't chain piece the triangles on because I oversize them, and I've always got a fair bit of fabric on the overhang, so that's why you won't ever see me chain piecing that part of the quilt, but you'll see me chain piecing this part of the quilt. So here I'm just showing you the 4 patches with their triangles. So this is what I got accomplished when I was sewing this quilt today. So as you can see, I did a few that have got the light triangles, and then I've done a few that have got the dark triangles, because this quilt does need the light triangles and it also needs the dark triangle. As you can see, I'm trying to do it scrappy. It's going to be a very scrappy quilt. I'm just trying to use up all my excess little bits and pieces of fabric, because this is a little bits and pieces quilt. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and until my next video, God bless and have a great afternoon. See you later.